Hi everyone. This is just a reflection time for me, just looking at what's happening in our continent and why we are so far behind in terms of our development as a continent. One of the main things that worries me or that bothers me is the fact that we Africans are trying so hard to develop our continent based on our colonizers' systems. These guys put the systems in place, and the systems are basically meant to benefit them and not us. But subsequently, we have been so indoctrinated into believing that the systems that they left behind in Africa today are going to work for us. But unfortunately, because we're not thinking, unfortunately, these systems are definitely not benefiting Africans. They continue to benefit the colonizers because the system being put in place is there basically to siphon and take out everything in Africa for their benefit. So what gets me is the fact that the oldest African independent country is over 60 years. And none of us, as intellectual as we are, as brilliant as we are, none of us even thought or think that it's wise actually to dismantle the colonizers' systems to actually build an Afrocentric system that's going to work for Africans. No wonder we are chasing our tails all the time. Partly the problem is the complicity and the greed of African government. But what we don't realize is the system has greed and as greed built into it. The system of colonizers is basically greed driven. It has corruption built into it, is the word I'm looking for. It has corruption built into it because it was built on corruption. So those in the system are always going to be corrupt because the system allows corruption. So we can blame all our politicians all we want, but all they're doing is basically fitting into the way the system was built, because basically that's how the system came about in the first place. I'm not excusing our behavior, but what we need to do is basically build a system that is Afrocentric, that's African. Why can't we dismantle or get rid of a system that's not benefiting Africans on the continent? Guys, look at us today. Look at us today. Based on the Western parameters, Africa is poor. And yes, we're poor because we're basically trying to build ourselves up to a system that's gauged by Western standards. We haven't got a system that is gauged on Afrocentric standards, African standards. So obviously, we're going to be chasing our tails all the time, because how do you think we could ever, or how do you think we could actually match up to that or get up to those kind of standards? It's impossible. This is my appeal to my fellow Africans in the diaspora and on the continent. We need to tear down the systems that are not working for us, because guys, as long as we keep following these systems, Africa is going to remain poor. And I don't want to see, I'll continue to see what's happening to us on the continent today. We need our own policies. We need our own systems. We need our own narrative. We need our own paradigm. We need to focus on our strength and not our weaknesses. And our strength is Ubuntu, being communal in how we do things. This is something we did that they noticed and they saw, but they chose to basically disrupt the system because it does not benefit them. And they've never done anything that's going to benefit us. They always do what's going to benefit them. Guys, we need to be disruptive. We need to change things, man. We cannot carry on like this. I fear for the generations to come. I fear for my grandchildren. Must we carry on like this? Isn't it about time we start thinking differently? We are Alkebulan, brothers and sisters, mother of mankind. We existed before any other. Isn't it about time we start behaving like kings and queens that we're meant to be? Anyway, this is all I did, is thoughts.